Okay, thank you. So here we got Julian, who got first place at our locals. It's been a while since we did a deck profile, and it happens to be a Ice Winner deck again. But this time we got Opus 13 support. Walk us through that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the deck is pretty similar to the old list I had. So the main card that the deck wants to support is Lock. So Lock, he is my boss card per se. His abilities are that when he enters the field, my opponent either discards one card, I break a monster, break a forward of cost 6 or higher, or choose 2 characters and dull freeze it. So pretty much he's pretty much taxing my opponent on whatever level I need at that moment. But the cool thing about Lock is every time I play a card, his cost goes down by 2. So the more things I play, the cheaper he is, and I can essentially play him for 2. So before I wasn't playing Gestalian Empire Sid, but I added one Gestalian Empire Sid because he searches for Lock, which allows me to have access to him when need be. So that's been working pretty well for me. And since the deck is trying to support Lock, playing 3 Riku. So Riku is a 2-cost Ice Wind forward who has 2 abilities. On entry, she dulls 1 character, or she activates 2 characters. So if I paid with 2 backups, I can activate 2 backups when she's on the field, and essentially she's free. But that helps to lower Lock's count, because our goal is to play Lock for as cheap as we can. So going on to some more packages that we have. I am playing the Crystal Chronicles package. So I have 3 Northstalin, 1 Pavlov, 1 Althea, and 1 Yuk. So Northstalin is the main card, and Northstalin's ability is when it enters the field, I can search for 1 Crystal Chronicles backup. So typically I like to go for either Althea or Yuk. Yuk is great because he is an ice backup. So if I turn 1 Northstalin and then grab Yuk, I'll be able to play my multicolors the following turn because I would have an element of both. And Yuk also lets me get a win card. So essentially it costs 1. Althea is great because she is one of the big combo pieces of the deck. Her ability reads that when she enters the field, I can activate 1 character, and then I can also bounce her to return a character on the field back to my hand. So usually the big brain play is to play Lock, bounce it back, and then play it again to double down on its effects. And it can be really crippling to my opponent if they can't stop it. So going on to more packages, down there. I am playing 1 Izana and 3 Chocobo Summon and a Chocolate. So Izana is a really good card that I think is really underrated because he searches for 1 card named Chocobo or Job Chocobo. And currently there is a Chocobo of every type in the game, I think, except Monster. So essentially he can search for a backup, a forward, or a summon. So I'm playing 3 of the Chocobo Summon. Chocobo Summon allows me to return 1 forward on the field back to my hand and draw a card. So a good combo with that is you play Riku, she's essentially free, play Chocobo Summon, bounce Riku back, draw a card, play Riku again for free, and you've now essentially casted 3 times, which means Lock is cost 2 for that turn. And you still have CP to do other things too. So Chocobo Summon really helps to bring down Lock's costs, but it also can be used defensively. So if your opponent is, paying a lot of CP to target a card, you can just cast it to bounce a card back, and then they don't have a target anymore. So it's a really versatile card, and it's been working out pretty great. And then I also play the Chocolat backup. So Chocolate's main ability is you can tap her to place a counter on her, and then when she has 2 counters, you can remove them to draw a card. So on turns where you have open CP per se, you can just put a counter on her since you weren't going to use it anyway. And throughout the course of the game, you can probably get 2 to 3 extra cards off of that, which is value because she does cost 2, and the first time you draw, that essentially means she's free. So moving on, I've got the Barley package with 3 Barley and 3 Pandemonium. So Barley has become the main source of removal for this deck. I'm happy to play him now because I was trying to make it work earlier, but it just didn't seem like it was the right time for it. But I think it definitely has a place in the meta now. So Barley's main effect, he has 2 of them, is whenever I activate a backup, I can deal 3k AoE to my opponent's board. And whenever my opponent discards a card, I choose a character and freeze it. So the combo is with a ton of different cards in the deck, but the main one is Pandemonium. Pandemonium's a 1-cost summon that says I can choose 1 backup and activate it. And when I do, I deal 2k AoE to my opponent's board. And when they're at damage 5, it's actually 4k damage. So the combos really well with Barley because you'll tap 1 backup, play it, it activates itself, which does 3k from Barley, and then this says you deal either 2 or 4k, so that stacks, meaning you can do between like 7k or you can do 5k. So it's a really good card, works really well with Barley. Yeah. And then the next package I'm playing, I'm going to call this the Monster Package. Playing 2 Citra, playing 1 Nagmolda, and 3 Ochu. So, these cards are all to support Ochu essentially. But Citra's main ability is when she enters the field, I can bring back a monster or a summon. So the targets are going to be the Ochu and Pandemonium and Chocobo. So I only play 2 Citra because she's a light card, which means we can't pitch her for CP. But she brings back 9 different cards in the deck, and I think that's pretty good. So Ochu's main ability is he is a monster that at damage 3 becomes a forward. So when deck building, I consider him a forward, not a summon or a monster. And his ability is when he enters the field, I can activate 2 backups. So that might not seem really impressive at first, but the reason it's good is because he costs 1 and you're activating 2. So essentially he costs -1 in terms of CP value. But he also supports the lock storm count because you're paying 1 but getting 2 back, and then you're reducing lock's cost by 2. And then because he activates 2 backups, you're also doing 3k AoE with Barley.
Ochu is also, since he's a monster type, he has essentially summoning. He doesn't have summoning sickness, right?
So the way monsters work is monsters can't attack the turn they come out, but they can use their abilities.
Like the tap abilities.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Ochu doesn't have a tap ability, but if he did, you could use that ability the turn he comes in. But yeah, when I was deck building, I thought of him more as a forward than a monster. But he only gets his ability to be a forward at damage 3, so if my opponent's going to like Shantoto or Fina or something, he's not a legal target until damage 3. So he's pretty cool. I like him. And moving forward, just a couple of generic good cards. Got 3 Fina, 3 Zidane, and 3 Renoa. So these are pretty much just staple cards. Fina is a really versatile big body. Her ability is when she enters the field, I can either untap all of my characters or I can deal 5k AoE to the board. So really, she's there for whatever I need in that moment. So for the untapping ability, that's good with Barley because I can play her, untap, Barley will deal 3k to the board, and then since I have all my CP open, I can do other things like play Riku to untap 2 again to combo off a Barley, or play Pandemonium. Also, just play Fina, untap everything, and then Lock's cost is reduced, and you have your backups open again to cast him. So she's really good for that, and then also her 5k can be comboed with Pandemonium or lots of different things in the deck. So she's really versatile, and I think that's what her biggest strength towards the deck is. and that's why I play her at 3, because I think it's really good to have that flexibility open to you depending on the state of the game. And then Zidane is a great staple too, because when he enters the field, I get to look at one card in my opponent's hand, and I can discard it. So that combos really well with Barley, because Barley says when my opponent discards a card, I choose one character and freeze it. So that can be useful if you really want to rip out like a important card to your opponent. So an example is if you have a really wide board and they searched or got Shanto off an EX burst, you can just play Zidane and force them to discard it, and then freeze a backup or a forward that's really giving you trouble in that moment. So Zidane's a really good card, and being able to bounce him off of Chocobo or Althea, you can really abuse his ability to rip out the necessary cards that your opponent has in their hand. Then I'm just going to call this the Recursion package. I've got 1 Tella and 2 Eodolus. So I think that Icewind's one of its biggest weaknesses is it doesn't have a lot of recursion. So Eodolus at 2 is really good because he can bring back any ice character in your break zone. So ideally, the most important cards are probably going to be Locke and Barley. But, sometimes you might want to bring back Renoa just to flicker something that's already on the board. So it depends on the moment, but he's a great EX for one, but at the same time, he also allows you to have access again to your important combo pieces. And then we have Tella. He's a new card from Opus 13. Tella's ability is I can return 1 summon in my break zone to my hand. So he's useful if you really want to get Pandemonium or Chocobo back, but sometimes you need to cast Pandemonium, then play Tella to get it back, then cast it again, and that can be devastating too. And then if you're in a real pinch, his other ability is you can break him and pitch a summon to deal a dull character. I think it's 7k.
Deal 3k damage for each CP required to cast.
Yeah.
The discarded summon.
Yeah. So I don't think that's best used in this deck, but you do have that option. So yeah. I think the main reason I added him is he's an EX and it allows me to recur a summon if need be. So in a way, he's kind of like a third copy of Citra. And moving along, another win staple. I've got 2 copies of Y'shtola. Y'shtola is really good because her main ability is she can cancel an auto ability or a summon. So if your opponent's going to cast Shantoto, you can just pop her to cancel it, and at the end of the day, they paid 7 CP and you paid 3, so they're losing out in terms of value. She also doesn't take damage, or from abilities and summons, so in the Fire matchup, Fire has a hard time getting rid of her. So she's a good card. I don't think she's necessary at 3 because she's kind of situational, but I originally had her at 1, and I feel like 2 is pretty comfortable just because you'll see her at least once during the course of the game. Moving along, I've got 2 Ashe. So last time I said I was kind of on the fence about Ashe, but Ashe, she's been pretty good. Her main thing is when I cast 3 cards or more during a turn, I'm able to draw a card. So since this deck is playing a lot of things for free and bouncing things, it's very easy to play 3 things and draw a card, essentially meaning you're drawing 3 cards per turn instead of 2.
Especially since that guy's a 1-drop and then you're just untapping 2 backups.
Exactly. So I think these 2 together are really good. But her other effect is when I have 6 or more characters on the field, she can't be chosen by abilities. So against Ice, they can't really target her because she can't be chosen by abilities. So she's pretty good, and she becomes a decent sized body once you have 6 characters on the field. Then, finishing off the list, I've got 2 Miyun and 2 Kate Sith. So Miyun is pretty much, I would say, a win staple, but she's also very versatile. So Miyun's ability is I can choose one character on the field and return it to my hand and draw. So pretty much backup version of Chocobo Summon. So actually I did this combo today. So before I get to that, also Kate Sith. His ability allows me to look at one card in my opponent's hand and remove it from the game, and then they draw one card. So combo I did today was played Kate Sith, I removed a Neo X Death from their hand, then I played Miyun to bounce back Kate Sith to my hand, draw a card, play Kate Sith again, and then get rid of another forward. So I did pay a lot of CP for it, but I was able to remove the biggest threats that my opponent had, and I was also playing 2 backups. And whenever you're playing backups, you're putting down permanent resources, so that's always a good strategy. So together, all this from Opus 13, I think that Ochu really does support the Storm aspect per se of Lock. Being able to play a body that is a cast gives you an extra CP. This really makes it easy to play Lock very early and veer very easily. And because this is such an easy combo to do now, Barlai's board wipes are easily accessible all the time now. And like I said before, Icewind's always had historically low EX burst counts and recursion. So I think with the printing of things like Tela, it really helps to like increase the chances of getting cards back when you are taking damage. And I think that helps to allow you to continue to do your Storm. But yeah, that's pretty much the deck. It's a little different than last time, but the goal is still the same, and this little house plant over here makes it a lot easier to do.
Do you miss the ice package from Avachon?
I mean, I will miss it just because I'm a Final Fantasy VII fan. But I think this is a little bit stronger than that. Just because at the end of the day, your goal is to do Lock, and they didn't really support that, but they were decent on their own. But I think being able to play Lock like turn 3 or 4 very easily is a lot more control-y, I guess, than what the Remnant package were doing. So I think this is a little bit more effective, but as a 7 fan, I am kind of sad to see them go for now. But just for now.
Any matches that was giving you some trouble? There was like 4 rounds today.
Yeah, there was a lot. I think the hardest match for me today was probably playing against, I think it was Eddie's Summoner deck. It was difficult because I actually had a really hard... I bricked my hand when I first started, so I drew pretty much duplicates of all the cards on the field, so I couldn't really play anything for like the first 4 to 5 turns. But I was able to stabilize because of mostly Ochu, Renoa, Locke, and I was able to board wipe him. But yeah, that was it was really tough because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to stabilize because he was able to just play a summon for free by tapping his I think it was Garnet, and I wasn't able to counter anything. But another combo that really helped was he would target something, and then I would bounce it back with either Althea or Chocobo, and because the target is no longer there, the summon is canceled or fizzles. So at the end of the day, he's losing out on resources by doing that. And by the end of the game, he was top decking. So usually if your opponent's top decking, I think you're doing something right. So yeah, I was able to win it, but that was definitely a difficult game, but it was a good game.
All right. Any last words? Or, I mean, today was Mother's Day, so we still had an okay turnout. Like, what, 9 people?
Yeah, we had 9 people. I think we had 10 players, but the 10th person didn't play, so maybe next time. But yeah, definitely, I think the scene is looking really good, especially after the COVID pandemic. It's still going on, but glad to see people coming out to play some Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Well, thank you for showing us your updated deck.
Yeah,
Can't wait to see more deck profiles from our other players, especially using the new Opus 13. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to click the like, hit the subscribe and whatever YouTube people say. And catch you next time.
See you later.